Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Leadership Matters, a bi-weekly half-hour series aimed at supporting leaders. And I am Dr. Kenroy Burke, your host, leadership coach, and mentor. I'm so excited again to be not just right here with you on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, but we're also right here with you on 92.9 FM VOB. And I'm excited about the opportunity to be able to touch so many different lives with the good message of leadership. This evening, we want to pause for a cause as we take a little bit in from our sponsors.
Crumbs Bakery, so good, even down to the last crumb.
Crumbs Bakery, so good. Now, this evening, I have with me a colleague, a friend, a buddy, Anthony Allen, the principal of Lester Vaughan Secondary School. And he is here with us this evening as we talk a little bit about leadership post COVID, but we're also going to be delving in and discussing some innovative ideas. So, Anthony, welcome to Leadership Matters.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Thank you so very much for accepting the invitation. So as we talk a little bit about this journey, let's talk about Anthony. Who is Anthony Allen? Take us through a little bit of who Anthony Allen is. Give us little tidbits on your journey, what your journey has been so far.
Oh, wow. We only have 5 hours, so I'm going to try to condense it quickly. Obviously, we knew one another from school days back at Harrison College. Initially, I wanted to be going to the field of engineering, but then I was bitten by the teaching bug. So I entered teaching at about age 23. And then from there, eventually worked my way up the ladder. My background is in computer science and information technology. So that has assisted me greatly as I have dealt with various roles. I was deputy principal at the Dayton Griffith School and the principal at the Dayton Griffith School for about 5 years. And in September 2020, I would have started my journey at the Lester Vaughan School. I firmly believe in people development, young people, youth ministry, and institutional strengthening. And I think I can also say that I believe firmly in good public speaking and communication as well too.
Okay, fantastic,
I should
Anthony.
add to I'm also a parent. I have 4 little ones at home who keep me quite busy.
Yeah, that is a job in itself, and it takes a lot of leadership in order to be able to do that. Indeed. So, Anthony, let's talk a little bit more about this entire experience. What has this entire period of COVID, the pandemic, how has it treated you as a person, as a parent? You just said as a leader. How has it really treated you this entire period?
Yeah, well, it really has been a challenging time, I must say. As I said, as a parent and as a principal, I have been fortunate, or some may say unfortunate, to see it from both ends of the spectrum. And one of the things that I think stood out a lot is the fact that you never know what may come the next day or the next month or the next week. The pandemic definitely brought a larger level of uncertainty to everything that we do. It would have forced those of us in the education sector to revisit plans over and over again, to have a plan A and a plan B or a plan C. And also from the personal or individual level, it also called for a lot of adjustment, both at home in terms of dealing with the children or their online learning, etc., or just adapting to this new way of life, which whether we realize it or not has had an impact on all of us from top right down to bottom. So from the leadership side, it really was dealing with the uncertainty and being able to plan and mitigate the challenges that arose. And that essentially would be the biggest thing I think we found over the last 18 or so months. And it's still going, we're still not fully out of it yet. And there's much that has been learned and much that has been gained during this thing.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about some of those things that you've actually learned during this period. I think that there for some persons, unfortunately, the pandemic happened to them. And for some
Mm.
persons, the pandemic happened for them. Now, that's a big difference. It's a major difference. So, what are some of those things that you have learned throughout this entire period? For the last 18 months, what are some of those lessons that you have learned?
Well, I can say for sure, both at the professional and personal level, I've come to a point where we realized you never know what the other person is going through. I mean, we've said
Mhm.
it a lot over the years growing
Yeah.
up, but even more so now. You may see someone who may seem okay, but many persons would have lost their jobs, would have been in homes,
Yeah.
isolated, maybe had to deal with COVID directly. So when we look at persons or interact with persons, it calls for a greater level of empathy for
Yeah.
whatever they may be going through, as well as a level of appreciation that even though I may want something, no, I
Mhm.
must also realize that others are going through it. I think too, it would have brought us a little bit closer, whether we realize it or not. Not through
Yeah.
technology necessarily, but the recognition that everyone was brought virtually to the same level. Everyone
Yeah.
at school had to be online, teachers had to be at home, schools were closed.
Mhm.
Everyone had a similar experience, whether it was a curfew or again unemployment or something like that. So we started to realize we're not as different as separate as we think we
Yeah.
are at times, and often the things that we focus a lot on that divide us,
Yeah.
that make us fret and quarrel, really are not as important as we sometimes think they are. So
Yeah.
that personal introspection definitely went a long way, and obviously the use of technology like we are here now has become a
Yeah.
natural part of everyday life for virtually everyone.
Yeah. And I'm interested, Anthony, in that whole concept that you spoke about empathy. Talk to some leaders for a couple of minutes here. Let's talk a little bit about the empathy.
Yeah.
Because as you said, there are times when there are demands on the job, there are things that we need done. But you rightfully said that there were several persons who also had to walk through this period with various challenges, teaching from at home. And then while they're teaching from at home, their children are also at home and they have to be tending to them. So they're holding the baby in one hand and nurseries are closed also. So they would have been tough for them during that period. How important is empathy? How important is empathy as a leader?
I think now more than ever it is critical. I know we've spoken a lot recently about emotional intelligence, and that is a
Mhm.
part of it. Empathy is a part of that. But the recognition that thousands of persons just like that over the course of 2 3 months may have been out of work. Households who used to stand on their own now had to
Yeah,
depend on other persons. Teachers
yeah,
who would be normally good in a classroom, as you said, now are at home with a child or
mhm,
two or having their own struggles and burdens. And for me, that really hit me a lot last year when the pandemic first hit, and it resolved in myself from very, very early, both as principal, whether it was Dayton Griffith or Lester Vaughan, that any decisions that we made, any things that we try to do during this period of time
mhm.
must take into consideration what other people are going through. And we must give some type of leeway for them to actually manage what we would like them to do while giving them the resources where possible that they can get it done. And a big part of that too in leadership will be the communication aspect of it. And if we try
Yeah,
to encourage persons to talk with us, as well as sharing my own experience. So when they tell a person, hey, I'm a parent at home, I'm struggling just like you some days, then
mm,
they understand it, and then we can have that type of conversation. So as I said, it has the potential to bring us closer together once
yeah,
that empathy is there, and once persons are willing to share, recognizing that it's not just about how much you lead or how much you know, but as John Maxwell said, how much you care. And that is key as we go through this.
fantastic. So in the education field, I don't think that many persons probably spared a thought for the fact that probably the first profession that had to be shoved into doing things totally differently would have been the teaching fraternity. Several of them were forced to kind of like totally reimagine the entire atmosphere. Um, how has it been for you in your on your everyday experience? Are people coping with these changes? Are they getting through these changes?
Initially, it was tough. I think it was March 18th last year when we were told schools would close that week at the end of second term. and no one expected that here we would be in May 2021 and we're still going through some measure of it. It was really tough on teachers, I will say, because it called not just for a shift to technology, but also a paradigm shift, a mental shift in moving away from what you were accustomed doing and being able to translate that to the computer environment. As an IT person, I understood that immensely. And as I said, we try to empower persons to be able to do it in a way and at a pace that they could get it done. I know too that many parents would have had some challenges at first, whether it be with devices, learning how to use the technology, being able to follow what their children were doing. And they also had to adjust to a very steep learning curve. Happily, though, I can say we've made a lot of progress. We're not at 100% yet. Obviously, there's still some challenges to work out, and any real major change takes about 2 to 3 years. But we have done pretty well both as a system, and I can say for sure as a school where we're at, in improving upon where we started and making sure persons are a little better off than they were a year ago.
Great. Now, so let's pause for a cause, and then we're going to come straight back and we're going to talk a little bit about innovation. So this evening we are talking to Anthony Alling, principal of Les Devon Secondary School. Anthony, let's delve in now a little bit about innovation in education. Now, I'm aware that you've started out doing some fantastic things already at the Les Devon School, and I am aware of what you did while you were over at the Dayton Griffith School. Tell us about how important, first and foremost, it is for us to embrace innovation. But two, what are some of those things that you're doing over at the school? Some of those exciting things.
Okay, well, first of all, innovation is absolutely necessary if you're going to grow an organization. It is one thing to manage it and keep it the way it is, but then it is another thing altogether to innovate, inspire, and to help it to grow. As I said, I believe in growth. So every leader, I think, should always be looking towards the future, not just where they are right now. I remember telling my team when COVID hit, we're going to get through COVID, but I want you to put your minds towards 2021, 2022. Where do you want to be? And how do we prepare ourselves for it now so that whenever things get better, we are ready to go, ready to do things. Key innovations, I would say for sure, would be in the area of technology, because it really is a way of life and all of our children are using it. So it would be important to empower teachers to be able to use it, whether it be the use of social media or websites or WhatsApps, etc., for our communications, tablets in the classroom, coding, robotics, VR, different things like that. And we're looking at. The other area of innovation speaks specifically, though, to how do we transform an institution to cater for those who will need it most. So we may have a number of students who are wonderful academically, that's fine, but then there are some who are not. There are some students who like to read, and then there's some who like to use their hands. So for us at the Les Devon School, we started to look at how can we modify our curriculum a bit to offer a wider range of opportunities for our students, to recognize that there are some who can fly and allow them to fly, but then also to make sure we have that little cushion for those who may need a little bit more time. So innovation primarily will occur in the area of the curriculum, introducing more CVQs, some other certifications, so that no student will ever leave without having some type of certificate. It will happen in the area of technology, meaning using the computers, the laptops, the apps, the websites, and things like that. But then also in terms of programs that involve more people, whether it be the Les Devon community, teachers, parents, and other persons within the school, or the neighboring community, persons who want to use the pastor to hold an event to exercise. So everyone realizes that phrase that they always say, it takes a village. So that is the direction that we are going, and we're moving full steam ahead with it, as our catchphrase says, LVS Rising.
All right, great. So we're talking now about ensuring that no student leaves secondary school uncertified. you should leave with something. Talk to me about the curriculum at Les Devon. What are you guys doing? Because you just spoke to the fact that some people may be better with their hands, some people may be better in technology, some people may be the academic who sits in the classroom and is able to gain from that experience. What are you guys doing with your curriculum? Where is it right now? And what would you want to see coming out of that curriculum as you advance?
Yeah, but right now it is a mixed curriculum offering the majority of subjects that persons would expect at a secondary school at our level. And the performance is on par with what it has been for the past couple of years. But we've done a little bit more listening this year to the students and seeing what really is their interest. Are they sitting down in a class that they don't want to be in and therefore being
I
frustrated?
want you to say that again. I want you to say that again. As the younger people, younger than us, say it, I want you to say that for the persons who are in the back. You said that you
Okay,
are doing what? You are doing a little bit
listening,
more listening.
listening. That's right.
Listening. Just recently, I was doing some research and things like that on communication. And one of the things that they say is that it's important for leaders to listen. Anthony, what are you doing concerning that? Are you listening to teachers, peer? How is that? Talk to me a little bit about that process before we jump back to what you were doing.
I will say for me, listen to everyone from
Mhm.
the top of the school, principal, deputy principal, guidance counselors, senior teachers, to the janitors, to the maids, to the vendors who come and sell on the outside, students, parents, everyone. Because I believe
Why?
if you're a part
Why?
of it,
Something must
it
be
is
flawed
critical.
with your leadership. Why?
Now, all views must contain, Dr. Burr, all views must contain. And oftentimes, even going back to my own upbringing, at my institution, we went to school at, sometimes the best ideas come from the places you least expect them. And
Uh,
also, sometimes the areas that you need to improve on, you can only find out by hearing it from others. Even if it is a criticism, even if it is something that someone is saying you're doing wrong, or this is totally out of place, or not how it's supposed to be, it helps me to refocus if I need to strengthen where you can, or to improve. And I think as a leader, this is now my 6th year as a principal, and I always tell personally, I feel as if I'm starting out from the beginning all over again. And listening is a very, very, very key part of that. Being able to hear a person and reflect on it in those quiet moments, and where when necessary, make the changes you have to make, professionally or personally.
Well, so we're embracing as leaders, we're embracing the concept of listening. You said something important there. Not just listening at the highest level, but listening at every level of the organization. I took note, you said that sometimes the answers are hidden away in the areas that you least expect them to be. And then we jump straight back into the fact that you said, listen, you are currently listening to the students because you're finding a lot of value in there. Anthony, we want to take a break for another cause, but as soon as we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this whole concept of innovation and what you guys are doing.
Here's some of your best news since the lockdowns. 7 Crumbs Bakery locations are now open on Sundays and bank holidays from 7 in the morning. They are Eagle Hall, Wildy, Fairchild Street, Oystons, My Lord's Hills, Pipestown and Fairview, while the other 10 Crumbs locations open Monday to Saturday as usual. Crumbs for a wide variety of fresh cakes, pastries and bread. Crumbs, so good, even down to the last crumb.
Down to the last crumb, they say. So good. Anthony, no, you were talking about the innovation and how you're breaking it, how you're doing it. You're still at the well, in the eyes of many around here, you'll probably say, oh, you're still a youngster in this whole thing of being a principal, 6 years. But you're young for sure at the Les Devon School. And you would have had the experience of moving from one school where I personally saw it. I had the opportunity to be with you guys, and I saw the growth and the development of the Dayton Griffith School under your leadership. Congratulations to that. But now you have a new
Thank you.
task taken up, and you were talking to us about the fact that you're starting to build it out. Talk to us a little bit more. How are you starting to build this out now and working towards shifting and moving things in the direction that you believe they should go in?
Yeah, well, 3 ways. One is to look back. to see where the school that I am now at, where it has come from. It is a fantastic school, a wonderful history, 25 years it will be soon from now.
Wow.
Was blessed to have good former principals and leaders over the years. So I've been looking back to see the good things that have been done, the strengths of the school. Then, as I said earlier, listening to others who are there currently. What are the things that they're like? What are they passionate about? What are the things they think may need to be changed a little bit over time, of course, because we cannot change things just like that. And then how do we map where the school is at now with the same ideas I just shared about being able to cater for as many persons as possible and then move forward as a team? One of the things that I learned over the past few years is you cannot do it alone. It is as simple as that. And one of the
Say it
first
again.
things
Say it
they
again.
told me, you
Say it
cannot do
again.
it alone. One of the first things they told my management team, if you believe that I'm going to come and try to do it all myself, think again. It will not happen. So I've tried as much as possible as I did previously to empower those who are in what I call the middle management type position, because they are leaders as well, and to see how we could use their skills, their passion, and their institutional knowledge to help me to drive the school forward as a whole. Because at the end of the day, it is not it is really all of us. It is we
Yeah.
who are going to push this thing forward. So we're not going to move forward just one year group at a time or one section of the school at a time. No, we're going to go forward together, bringing everybody along and hopefully building that level of pride and confidence and belief and faith and hope in the institution for all the children who pass through it.
Oh, great. It's sounding great already. So we are now in a very technologically driven period. And you mentioned it a little earlier about the technology in the classroom. You mentioned some of the things that we are forced. Obviously, we know we had no choice. What was initially emergency teaching is no longer emergency teaching. I
Correct.
think that we are very, very much on board with technology. Anthony, let's embrace technology now. You're wrapping your brain around embracing technology in your school. How would you want to see us as a nation using the technology as we move forward post COVID? I'm almost afraid that we are getting ready to default to where we
Mm.
came from. How do you say something this evening that would show what your impression is and how we can continue to move forward?
We have similar fears, Dr. Burt. One of the things they said, even from last year, is that I hope we do not just return to normal and throw away
Mhm.
all the good things that came over the last 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, correct.
Every person has developed some level of skill in some area in technology. Within schools, we've used technology to do blended learning or even full remote learning, and there are other
Mhm.
possibilities for it. What we will attempt to do at Lester Vaughan, for sure, I would encourage all others, is to see how, even as you move back to almost normal, still involve and include technology in the areas that it can be used. For sure,
Mhm.
communication is a big one. Technology should be used to bring your stakeholders closer to you, even if they cannot be there in the physical environment.
Mhm.
In terms of teaching and learning, it must be used to allow students to learn outside of the four walls of the classroom. So we're no longer restricted by
Yeah.
9 to 2 or 9 to 3 and 40 minutes or less. And material, resources, assessment can all be shared 24/7,
Yeah.
literally. And students who now have devices can be able to access it and hopefully learn. So teachers and leaders will have to influence and inspire by using the technology themselves so that the persons who we lead and the persons who follow us and sit in front of us in the classroom, they will continue to use it and will not just see it as something you did just because of COVID, but really know is a tool that more of us have access to, more of us can use, and more of us can benefit from. And I'm all in favor for that, for sure.
Fantastic. No, I remember when we were doing some training, you were told to embrace the technology, and embracing the technology was to make sure that you showed a PowerPoint presentation in your teaching. And I think now that we've grown past that, we've really grown and
Indeed.
developed past that, and we ought to be using it more. But are there any other operational things, that probably systems that may have been in place or we're using currently, that you would want to see us as a nation embrace and keep moving with? Not necessarily just in technology, but any systems that you would think could still work for us if we fully embrace it.
Yeah, well, for sure, the use of the internet and online for doing business is a key
Mhm,
one, and I think that
mhm.
goes for schools as well, not just private sector and government agencies. Being able to be more efficient once it is used properly, that is. I would also say, at least in schools, looking towards, we always talk about the 21st century skills, but we need to
Yeah.
make sure schools are equipped with the resources and the knowledge to
Yes.
let those skills spread. You know, it is one thing to talk about them, and we may do it in small pockets in some areas, but we need it really to become a part of our ubiquitous experience, where students become critical thinkers, where they communicate, where they create, where they problem solve. That is the type of child that we want to try and raise, one who is confident of themselves, able to express themselves, and become that wonderful Barbadian citizen. So it will have to be a part of our everyday experience. That's essentially it. We need to keep it as a part of our everyday experience
Yeah.
and leverage the good things or the good values of what we call the old days and build
Mhm.
them out into the future that is coming so that we do not lose who we are as a people, but in essence, we just keep getting stronger and stronger over time.
Fantastic. No, I know. I also want to chime in here, Anthony, and I want to say I have a vision of us not requiring children to turn up at the physical plant every day, but that we can
Mhm.
have some days you're working from home, some days you're working from the school plant. It is going to it is going to reduce the stress on the plant. It is also going to reduce the stress in traffic on mornings, busy roads. I enjoy driving on mornings now because I move from one place to the other very quickly. It's going to reduce a whole set of things, and it's also going to give teachers and the educators an opportunity to not have to get up and rush and always feel as though they're rushing around. There's so many exciting opportunities as long as we don't determine that we are going to go back to the norm. As long as we
Yeah.
decide that that's going to be there. Let's pause for a cause and then we're going to jump straight in to one more question for you, Anthony.
All right.
I'm encouraging all of you who have never tasted that crispy chicken. You better try it because it's excellent. Crispy chicken coming out of the Crumbs Bakery experience. Oh, now I want to say to you, Anthony, you mentioned it. We grew up in school together. You know, we had experiences together. But if you were to do it all over again, your entire secondary school experience, if you were to do it all over again, what would you, Anthony Allen, have done differently if you were to redo your secondary school experience again?
Boy, that is a tough one. um, I think the one thing I may have done differently is focus a little bit on those A levels.
Hmm.
Because it was a point in time where we would have had some challenges at the personal end for me, and that would have knocked me off the path a little bit, at least for a year or so. So the latter part of my secondary experience would have been a personal struggle in some cases. Generally, though, I think my secondary experience was a good one. I would want to say this to any other parents or students out there, not just because of the institution and the knowledge gained, but because of the people who I learned from growing up and the type of relationships that were built as they blossom into a young man. And I think everything we do in schools must emphasize that notion of relationship, of
Yeah.
community, of values, in addition to the academics, because everyone is not going to get 100% or 10 grade
Yeah.
ones. But everyone can become a decent Barbadian or a decent young man or a woman, and everyone can learn the true value of friendships, some of which I hold up to this day. And as an educator and as a leader, I think that is one of the things that I try to promote very strongly in everything that I do. How do we not only try to achieve our goals, but build good relationships along the way so that people learn from one another and become stronger in the process?
Fantastic. Thank you so very much. We've been having a conversation with Anthony Allen, principal of Lester Vaughan Secondary School. As I hear him, I think that education in Barbados is in good hands, and we have a bright future in the education fraternity. I'm excited about all that is happening, even now in education, and praying and hoping, Anthony, that we don't default to the norm and go back to what we've been doing 18 months or so ago. So, Anthony, thank you so very much for being a part of Leadership Matters this evening.
Thank
Bi-weekly
you.
half-hour series aimed at supporting leaders. We are, as I said to you, we are on Facebook, we are now on IG, we are on YouTube, and we're right here on 92.9 FM, Voice of Barbados. I want to thank again our sponsors, Crumbs Bakery, for coming on board and being a partner in an exciting conversation on leadership. God bless you, and listen out for us as we come to you again 2 weeks from now. Blessings.